Well, we are finishing up with the introduction to the book of Proverbs. It's been a long introduction. There's usually not 9 chapters of introduction in most things. But really, that's where we've been at. And we've covered a little bit of ground here in this. This last week, some of the high school kids and I were in Canada. And one of the things that we try to teach them is to canoe. It's a great sport because you have to work together. You got one in the front, one in the back, and sometimes you just go around in circles if you're not working together. And we had a couple guys. My cousin Pat came up to them and she said, "Hey, have you mastered canoeing?" And they're going, "Oh yeah, we got this down. Oh yeah, we're pros. Like we're the best at it you've ever seen." And they're going, "Yeah, we're good." And she says, "Well, do you paddle on just one side or do you paddle on both sides?" "Oh, we paddle on both sides. We're good." And she goes, "Well, that's how I tell if somebody doesn't know how they're doing, if they're paddling on both sides. Because a really good canoeist just paddles on one." They're going, "Oh, okay, we'll learn that tomorrow." Came back the next day. "Yeah, we know how to do that now." We practiced all day. Mastery takes a long time. And we may think we know how life works, but we need God's input in all of the phases of our lives. Canoeing is, really, do you really need to know how to canoe? But living your life, that's something that we really need to practice on. Chapter 9 sums up everything that has come before it in this book as we finish up this introduction. The most outstanding feature of this last chapter is this contrast between what wisdom has to say and what folly has to say. And they both have their say here in this last chapter. Wisdom calls out, particularly to the simple, but her words are echoed back in this mocking sort of tone. And wisdom and folly uses a lot of words that wisdom just used. Said, "She invites you, I invite you. She wants you to be happy, I want you to be happy." And she uses the same words that wisdom used. We can also imagine parents getting ready to send their kids out into the world and tell them goodbye as they've been prepared for all of this. And now wisdom is ready to send her pupil out into the big bad world. It remains to be seen, though, whether or not the student, the pupil, will remember her parents' teaching, her teacher's teaching. We don't see a decision being made here in this chapter. And I think that's really quite interesting because it invites us to participate in that choice. And we find also in this chapter that both wisdom and folly quote Proverbs. Wisdom is just as good folly is just as good as wisdom at quoting Proverbs. Wisdom's speech ends with this proverb: "If you are wise, your wisdom will reward you. If you're a mocker, you alone are going to suffer." Folly has only one proverb in this whole thing. She says, "Stolen water is sweet, but food, bread eaten in secret is delicious." That's her proverb, and it tells us quite a lot about what she wants us to do. Wisdom works at preparing this building and then providing this great banquet, saying, "Come, join me in this building that I have built. Join me at this feast, and I will give you life." Folly sits at her door, loud, obnoxious, blaring. She doesn't have any knowledge. She doesn't have any life to her, and all she offers is stolen bread. Wisdom offers wine and meat. Folly, bread and water. Well, yeah, stolen water is sweet, but it's still just water. Stolen bread tastes good, but it's still just bread. That's all she has to offer. Wisdom offers a future, a call to maturity, and in a single word, she offers us life. But folly offers immediate pleasure. Yeah, that's true. But there's things enjoyed outside their boundaries, outside of where God wants them to be. And she hides the fact that those things are a trap, and they will bring about our death. They will bring about our destruction. We start off with wisdom's invitation, and then we move into learning about wisdom and some of the proverbs that she has to teach us, centering on the fear of the Lord, and then we end this chapter talking about folly's invitation to us as well. So let's look at wisdom's invitation, the first 6 verses of chapter 9 here. The picture here is of wisdom building a house. Just like in the last chapter, we saw wisdom there at the building of the universe, at the building of the cosmos. She was there. And so she is constructing this house for us. And then she's going to invite us in for a big banquet. The doors of this house, we read back in chapter 8, suggest that this house is in some way symbolic of her teaching. Now, exactly how, I don't really understand. But her house is strong. It will provide safety and security and all of that. Scholars think this house is somehow symbolic. But symbolic of what? I think it means that she is going to provide us this security. The doors are solid. The walls are solid. She can keep us out of the rain. And it is a beautiful house. It will add joy to your life. It is a great place to stay if we move in to wisdom's teaching. The house has 7 pillars. What those mean, I'm not quite sure either, but 7 oftentimes in the Bible is a symbol of completeness. And so the house is finished. It's good. It's secure. It's available. And nothing else is needed other than this lodging place. Wisdom demonstrates her positive character through her hard work of building. She is there. She struggles. She works at it. And she shows us how that we need to work at building wisdom into our life as well. She also knows how to throw a great party. Okay? And this is what she says. I've built this house for you. Come on in. We're having a party. Following God should be joyful. Sometimes it's sad. That's true. But she says wisdom knows how to throw this party. The meal that she offers is luxurious. Meat and wine. In that day and age, the commoners rarely got meat, rarely got wine. This was something that they saved for very special days. Like 7 times a year, they might get, a good meal of lamb. But she is offering that to everyone who follows after her. So she's really putting out the spread for these folks. The simple are invited to turn in here, and those who lack heart, those who lack a decision-making, good judgment, they're all invited to come in. Come in. Follow after me. Participate in this party. To come to her is to leave those simple ways behind and walk in a new way, a way of understanding. Proverbs often talks about the way that we should walk. We are supposed to walk on the straight way. Folly calls us to step off that straight way and fall into the ditch. It might be fun for a step, but it's not going to last very long. The invitation makes clear that to not to decide is to decide. I think that's what that dinosaur is saying. Even if I choose not to decide, I still have made a choice. I don't know if dinosaurs ever made that choice. Yes, we're going to die today, and they all just fell over. But whether, even not to decide is going to be a decision on her part, on your part. Wisdom holds her guests responsible. They are supposed to follow after her, and if they don't follow after her, they're responsible for that decision as well. You have a choice, and wisdom is offering you that choice. As wisdom stated at the end of her first speech way back in chapter 1, the waywardness of the simple will kill them. So here she says, hey, if you follow on the straight path, if you follow on the path of wisdom, you will have life. And as she says, it's going to be a great life. It's going to be a party life. It's going to have all the good things in life added to it. But you have to choose God first. And so she says, go on and learn wisdom. If you learn wisdom, then you will have that great life. Now, this book sums up a lot of what the Proverbs has to say about receiving and learning from wisdom. And it's repeated over and over. You need to receive that wisdom. You need to understand that wisdom. Or you can reject it. It's your choice. The book of Proverbs offers us that choice over and over again. This one, it starts with the responses of the mocker and the wise person, and then it tells us what happens to both of those people. So it says you have 2 choices. You can become a wise person or you can become a mocker, and then it says what happens when they get their rewards. Wisdom's invitation includes correction. Okay? It's not all positive.